Right now at 5, firefighters in Fort Scott battle an intense blaze on Wall and Barbie streets.
And we've got ourselves our alert days continuing for that dangerous heat out there, but we do have some thunderstorm chances as we head into the weekend. We'll take a look at that forecast coming up.
And the BBB raises awareness about how scammers are targeting people with Alzheimer's.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we still have our alert days continuing as we head through today and into tomorrow. But we've got a little bit of relief from the heat as we head into the weekend with some thunderstorm chances as well. So let's dive in here. Today, tomorrow, alert day still because we've got the temps low to mid 100s in some locations and those heat index values still potentially upwards of 110. So we have heat advisories for parts of southeast Kansas through 9 tonight for Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties and southwest Missouri until 7. And then we now have an excessive heat warning for northeastern Oklahoma that goes into effect as well for today. That's just how hot it is going to be. MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line. We're looking good so far. And same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue just south of Pittsburgh. And our camera at 7th and Range Line. Not bad. It is hot. I mean, it's hard to believe. I went out and it feels like it's almost the middle of the morning out there, or even the afternoon. 80 feels like 83. We have a heat index at 5 a.m., if you can believe that. Dew point, humidity both up there a bit. Across the area, again, it's a very hot start. 79 in Nevada, 78 in Iola, Chanute, 80 in Parsons, Neodesha, 79s in Miami, Chitopa, and 77 in Neosho. As we get our morning started, heat continues. We'll have mostly clear skies, maybe a few passing clouds, going to the low 90s as we head into the late morning. Highs today right around 104 degrees. You can see where these temperatures begin to climb. Even with partly cloudy skies out there, it's not going to do much to help keep us cool. Got another hot evening ahead of us. Look at this, 102 at 6, 97 by 8, still at 87 by 10 o'clock tonight. Partly to mostly cloudy skies through the evening. Warm overnight, lows right around 80 degrees. So our alert day again continues tomorrow. Hot right around 100. Saturday looking to be pretty toasty as well. Upper 90s, maybe close to 100. But then we've got those evening thunderstorm chances, and that'll help a little bit and knock our temperatures back down to the lower 90s for Sunday. Maybe some lingering thunderstorms. We'll stay in the lower 90s as we kick off the next work week. We'll have those pop-up thunderstorm chances. So as we mentioned, you don't want to cancel your 4th of July plans. Just be prepared in case you get under a shower. And we're looking at the low 90s for the 4th of July as well. We'll have more on that forecast, and there's not really a lot to say right now other than it's going to be straight up hot. But we'll talk more about that heat here in a few more minutes, Tanya.
All right, thanks, Chris. An Aurora, Missouri woman charged in a crash that killed 4 people on motorcycles will stay in jail, at least for now. A judge has ruled 53-year-old Teresa Menetsky will remain jailed without bond. The judge denied her attorney's request that Menetsky be released on her own reconnaissance while she seeks continuing medical care. Now, authorities say Menetsky was driving while intoxicated on June 3rd when she crossed the center line and crashed into a group of people on motorcycles on Highway 39 north of Aurora. 4 people on bikes were killed. 6 others were injured. Menetsky was also seriously injured. You can read more about this story on our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. On Wednesday, Fort Scott, Kansas, fire crews battled intense flames. Crews responded to the house fire at Wall and Barbie. When they arrived, they say they found half the home engulfed in flames, as you can see in this picture. The firefighters were unable to go inside. Fortunately, the resident had already gotten out before firefighters arrived and no one was hurt. Fire crews say the home is a total loss. They're investigating the cause of the fire. A grand jury hands down a federal indictment following a May traffic stop in Jasper County where a state trooper found 80 pounds of methamphetamine. On May 28th, the Missouri Highway Patrol trooper stopped 26-year-old Devion Boykin near the Sarcoxie exit on I-44. The Pennsylvania man was driving a vehicle that had been rented to another person, and he did not have a driver's license. The officer found 80 one-pound bags of meth in a shopping bag and a suitcase in the SUV. He also found a loaded gun. Authorities say Boykin was recorded on the dash cam discussing the meth on the phone while he was inside the police car. You can learn more about that and the case on the KOAM News Now app. Two young out-of-country solicitors asked the Joplin Police Department to share their picture on social media so residents can know they are legit when they're knocking on people's doors. Police say while they are trustworthy, others may not be. In the city of Joplin, to be able to sell books or windows, for example, door-to-door, solicitors need a special license. To obtain that document, you go through a background check, but not everyone needs that license.
The farmers or people selling vegetables out of the back of their vehicle, those do not. Religious or charitable organizations do not. You do have to be at least 17 years old in order to be able to solicit the city of Joplin as well.
I don't have many solicitors come up to my door. I don't know whether it's the neighborhood or if I had a lot, yes, it would bother me.
The Joplin Police Department also says if a citizen or a law enforcement officer requests the credentials, the solicitor needs to show them. Well, the Better Business Bureau is raising awareness of scammers targeting people with Alzheimer's disease. Experts say there are some things older adults and their loved ones can do to stay safe. One, if something feels off, tell someone you trust. Also, never share sensitive information over the phone or online. And if you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's, watch out for warning signs. They may be being targeted.
The thing with home inspectors is it's really kind of a crucial part of the buying and selling process, but the requirements as far as licensing or certification are very inconsistent. So it really puts the onus on the homeowner to do their homework. So for example, in the state of Missouri, there is no licensing or training requirement. So you really have to choose wisely.
June is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Outlaws host day 1 of day 2 of a youth baseball camp. Plus, a unique house is popping up on the market in California. Now, what house is that, you may ask? A duplicate White House. We'll explain. And how women on HRT may be more susceptible to dementia. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, Joplin Outlaws don't get much rest in their busy schedule of traveling across Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas. However, they did after their game with Nevada was postponed for a doubleheader, and that rest is a good thing because early yesterday morning, the Outlaws also hosted a youth baseball camp. Packed with local kids that get 2 days to learn from the players they cheer on at Joe Becker Stadium all season. Day 1 seemed by all standards to be a success, and Outlaws manager Chris Dawson says it serves as a good reminder about what a summer in Joplin is all about.
I think anytime you can get around a bunch of little kids and just have fun and remember that baseball is supposed to be fun, I think it helps. And so, but the kids look forward to it. I think, especially once they get around the guys too, it really kind of boosts their spirits. So
it's a good experience. It's kind of exciting seeing these kids. We were all in their shoes. We had older guys help us out, so it's good to give back to the community and do our part in our time here in Joplin. A lot of them are happy to be here, and it makes us excited to be out here. And when they're excited, that gets us excited.
As we mentioned, no rest for the Outlaws. Just 3 hours after camp wraps up, they pile into the team bus and make the hour trip up north to Nevada for a doubleheader yesterday evening. Outlaws versus Grivens on a steamy night in Nevada. Pick things up in the top of the third. No score. Pittsburgh State's Nixon Brannon is going to whack this ball to right field. Garrett Chun will score. The Outlaws take the early 1-0 lead. Fourth inning now, same score. Jarrett Nelson puts a charge into one, and that ball will carry over the fence for a solo home run. Outlaws feeling good early. Joplin now leading 2-0. So let's go to the bottom of the fifth. Joplin leading 2-1. Landon Penland sends this out to left field, but Colton Reynolds loses this ball in the sun. Griffins take advantage and tie this game up 2-2. Now to the top of the seventh. Interesting situation here. Runner at third, Caden Bressler is ground out. But after discussion, the umpires turn over the call. Bressler is safe. And Joplin takes the lead 3-2. He scored later in the inning as well. Joplin with a chance to close it out in the bottom of the 7th. Nevada down 5-4 with the bases loaded. J.C. Berry keeps this ball fair down the line, and that's a walk-off double. And the Nevada rallies back to win the game 1 of the doubleheader 6-5 over Joplin. Second end of the doubleheader also going to Nevada, not quite as tight as game 1. Tough day for the Outlaws, going 0-2. Conversely, though, Nevada seems like it might be hitting its stride now. That's 3 wins in a row for the Griffins and 5 of their last 6 games. They've also swapped places with the Outlaws in the standings and are now in 2nd place. And we're still a long ways away from high school football season, even further from state championship weekend, but got some exciting news on that front today. The Kansas State High School Activities Association is changing the format of its football state title games. Now, previously, the championship game for every class was in a different location on the same day. It was announced yesterday classes 6A to 4A will all be in the same location, as is the case with classes 3A to 1A. On top of that, there will be 1 game on Friday and 2 on Saturday. 8-man and 6-man classes will be grouped together as well. Locations for all those games is yet to be announced. These changes all take effect beginning in 2024. Well, still to come, people in Korea wake up to find themselves a year or 2 younger. I'll explain how. Plus, we'll check out the 7-day forecast, and that excessive heat when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 5:16 on this Thursday morning. Our heat alert days continue for today and tomorrow. Still temperatures low to mid 100s, heat index values up to 110, except for northeast Oklahoma. We're going to touch on that. So we've got heat advisories for this portion of southeast Kansas through 9 o'clock tonight, and then Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties, and the rest of southwest Missouri. This is until 7 o'clock tomorrow, and then we now have this excessive heat warning that is in effect in northeast Oklahoma, all of our counties there, until 9 tonight, and that is because they're looking at heat index values of around 110 to 115. So we cannot stress harder the importance of taking precautions out there and staying hydrated and staying indoors if you possibly can. MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line looks great. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue, of course, just south of Pittsburgh. Our camera 7th and Range Line, you can see some clouds out there. Depends on your television set because they're a little visible here, but I know even on TVs we have here, we can't see them on all of them, but there's a couple. We're at 80. It's hot. We have a heat index at 5:16 in the morning of 83 degrees, and it's been a bit breezy, which has kind of helped a little, but we're getting to that point, though, with the heat when the breeze is going to be like opening the oven after baking a pizza. It's just going to be a hot breeze blowing on you. Not going to do much at all. We got 78, Yates Center, Iola, 80 in Fort Scott, 80 Neodesha, Parsons, 79 Chatopa, Miami, and 77 in Neosho. As we get our morning started, we're going to be hot, mostly clear skies, maybe a few passing clouds, low 90s by 11 a.m., and that is ahead of this. I know you don't like it. I don't like it, believe me. And if I could change it, I would. And I could. It just wouldn't be right. We're at 104 for our high today. Partly cloudy skies out there. And again, just straight up hot. We head into this evening, hot. 102 at 6, still at 87 by 10. Partly to mostly cloudy skies out there. And overnight low around 80 degrees. It's one thing to put mild down here for a nice mild summer evening. Something totally different when we're putting the word warm on an overnight forecast. That's how hot it is. All right, alert days continue tomorrow, right around 100. Saturday, maybe pushing about 100 again, but then we've got better storm chances as we head into the evening, and that'll help cool it down a little bit. Back in the lower 90s, could be some residual thunderstorms Sunday morning. Low 90s continue as we kick off the next work week, and as you see, we are looking to stay that way, and hopefully this holds true as we even drop back into the upper 80s. We've got off and on thunderstorm chances as we head into next week. Now, that does include the 4th of July, but the good news is, at least for the 4th right now, these are looking to be like those pop-up thunderstorms. So not everybody will get rain, and it should wrap up before it's time for fireworks. Just do be prepared. And of course, still hot. Make sure you're taking precautions out there. Well, a White House replica is up for sale in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's got its very own Oval Office, East Room, and Rose Garden. This Western White House could be yours for the low, low price of $39 million, or you could settle for a tour with Zach Fuentes, who has the history of the building.
This is the Oval Office in Washington, D.C.
This is the Oval Office in Hillsborough, California, right here in the Bay Area. And it is no coincidence that it looks pretty similar to the original.
The office is part of a 4-level, 25,000 square foot home on 3 acres of land.
It is a replica of the White House in Washington, D.C. It was designed by famed architect Julia Morgan, known for doing the Hearst Castle in San Simeon.
Real estate agent Alex Boljan took me on a tour of the home.
And then this room over here, this is the living room, which is modeled after the East Room in the actual White House.
The house itself dates back to the 1800s. In the 1920s, the grandson of William Hearst, George Hearst, commissioned Julia Morgan to make it look like the White House.
The story is that he had aspirations to be a presidential candidate one day. His idea was to gift it to the United States government. To make it a Western White House, a residence on the western coast of the United States to complement the one on the East Coast. That never actually came to fruition.
Aside from what Boljan calls some freshening up, the home has stayed mostly the same all these years. Chandeliers can be found around almost every corner. Intricate details found in many of the fixtures. Each bedroom seems as though it's the master bedroom, and the master bedroom amounts to the size of many everyday homes. Then there's the backyard.
And obviously you can see rose gardens everywhere, similar to the actual White House.
Though the home is just minutes away from the heart of Hillsborough, it can't be seen from the road.
Even people that have lived in this area or lived in town, grew up here, whatever, don't even realize this house is here. We've heard that countless times.
With breathtaking views and a one-of-a-kind Julia Morgan design, one might ask why the current owner wants to sell.
His plan was to live here with his wife and his 2 kids. And then as he started doing some of the work here, came to the realization that a 4-story house with almost 25,000 square feet is not super feasible for a family with 2 young kids.
So if the home fits your lifestyle and you have a little extra spare change,
$38.9 million.
It could be yours.
Wow, that's certainly impressive. Now, $39 million sounds like a lot. Well, the real White House is worth nearly $400 million, but of course it is not for sale. That brings us to our question for you today. Have you ever wanted to run for a political office? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Make sure you take time to vote through our website, through the app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We will be back with Health Watch right after this.
15th.
Topping Health Watch this morning, opioid medications are one of the most typically prescribed treatments worldwide for treating lower back pain. But a new study has found they might not work. The study looked at 310 people who sought help for neck or lower back pain from primary care clinics or hospitals in Sydney, Australia, between February of 2016 and March of 2022. Participants were divided into 2 groups and treated for 6 weeks. One got a placebo and the other 20 micrograms of oxycodone per day. Study found opioids were not any more helpful than the placebo in their effects on back and neck pain. Researchers also found opioids appear to cause harm even after short-term sensible use. Could taking a certain type of hormone replacement therapy increase a woman's chance of developing dementia? A new study out of Denmark has doctors debating that idea. Researchers looked at the medical records of 56,000 Danish women between 2000 and 2018, and they found women who took a combination of estrogen and progestin for menopausal symptoms had a 24% increased rate of dementia compared to women who had never been on HRT. Women in their 50s on hormone replacement therapy were considered more likely to develop symptoms of dementia 20 years later. But doctors who wrote an editorial about the study interpret the data differently. They say women who are already at risk for dementia may seek out hormone replacement therapy. People who identify as transgender have significantly higher rates of suicide and suicide attempts compared with the rest of the population. That's according to a study out of Denmark of more than 6.6 million people. Researchers found those who identified as trans had 7.7 times the rate of suicide attempts than the broader Danish population. And they had 3.5 times the rate of suicide deaths. Among the more than 3,700 survey participants who identified as transgender, there were 92 suicide attempts and 12 suicides between 1980 and 2021. Researchers believe the numbers are probably a significant undercount. Experts in the medical world are coming together to try to stop dangerous hospital infections from spreading. Astrid Martinez has more.
5 national medical organizations are releasing updated recommendations to prevent the transmission and infection of MRSA. MRSA is a type of bacteria that is resistant to some antibiotics and can cause difficult to treat infections. MRSA can spread from healthcare workers' hands, from contaminated surfaces and equipment in hospitals. It causes about 10% of hospital-associated infections in the U.S. and can be deadly. Infections skyrocketed during the pandemic, rising by as much as 41% after declining for years. Infectious disease experts say that may be due to the significant strain on hospitals because of the pandemic. The recommendations stress improving how antibiotics are prescribed and used, surveillance to detect MRSA carriers who don't have any symptoms, as well as basic prevention, such as hand hygiene and cleaning and disinfecting. The CDC says it's critical to get care right away because you can't tell if an infection is MRSA just by looking at it. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Without treatment, MRSA infections can cause sepsis, which can be life-threatening. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Yeah, and we've got alert days for today and tomorrow. We have heat advisories. We now have excessive heat warnings out there. We'll talk more about that in your forecast when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, start your engines. The Great Race makes its way to Joplin.
And our alert days continue because we have that excessive heat across the area. We'll take another look at your full forecast coming up.
And KOAM hosts its second Great American Flag Swap with Arvest Bank.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:31. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So it is hot out there this morning, hot and muggy. It feels like it's the middle of the afternoon and it's only 5:30 in the morning. So that tells you how hot it's going to get later today. We have our alert days again today and into tomorrow. Temperatures, the low, maybe mid 100s out there. Heat index values up to around 110 and maybe even higher for some of us. We have the heat advisories in southeast Kansas until 9 tonight, and then Bourbon, Crawford, and Cherokee counties, and then southwest Missouri runs until 7 tomorrow. And then we now have the excessive heat warning for our counties in northeast Oklahoma, and that runs until 9 o'clock tonight. And they're expecting heat index values here possibly pushing 110 to 115. So you've got to take this seriously. Treat it as if it was severe weather, and that's what we were warning you about. Severe heat is just as dangerous and can be more deadly, and you need to be taking precautions. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline, we look good. It's hot out there. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 5 20th Avenue. Do have a few clouds out there, but it doesn't make much of a difference. We're still sitting 80. Heat index of 83 this morning. South-southwest breeze at 14. It's been a little gusty here since yesterday. We had 79 Nevada, Fort Scott, 78 Iola, Chanute, 80s in Neodesha, Parsons, 79 Chatopa, Miami, Pittsburgh, and 77 in Neosho and Monette. As we get our morning started, again, we'll have mostly clear skies, maybe a few clouds out there, low 90s by late morning. And as we head into the afternoon, yeah, this is unpleasant. We're looking at highs right around 104. Some of us could be a bit higher than that. Partly cloudy skies, so dangerous heat out there. And there's no relief heading into the evening. We're still near 90 by 10 o'clock tonight. Partly to mostly cloudy skies and dropping down to 80 for our overnight low. 80 for the overnight low, if you can believe that. All right, near 100 tomorrow, maybe again on Saturday. Then some thunderstorms build in the evening, give us at least a little relief. And that'll drop our temperatures back through the lower 90s as we head into next week. And we do have a couple of pop-up storms possible Tuesday. They should be done before it's time for fireworks, so don't cancel your plans. Just be aware. And it's still going to be hot, though, as we're in the low 90s. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. So one of the country's biggest old car rallies, the Great Race, stopped in Joplin on Wednesday. 127 cars are taking part. The Great Race is a 9-day, 2,300-mile journey from St. Augustine, Florida to Colorado Springs. And Wednesday marked day 5. Officials say it tests the endurance of cars and teams who come from all over the globe. Today, the teams will go through Emporia, Kansas before spending the night in Wichita. KOAM's Great American Flag Swap continued on Wednesday. It lets 4-staters trade in their old, tattered American flags for new ones. It was at 2023 East 32nd Street in Joplin at Arvest Bank. The American Legion helped us in retiring those old traded-in flags. This was the second flag swap we held. Now, within the first hour, all 100 of yesterday's flags were traded out. It's more than just trading out flags, but also supporting our local veterans.
Is what we call it. It's an associate impact group where we take time and we devote resources to finding out how Arvest can support veterans in our own community. And so, when you asked about flag swap, I'm like, that's helping veterans. That's showing support for the veterans that have served. So what better way that we could show support?
Our next flag swap is September 1st in Miami at Wesco. You can find information about that one and others, as well as flag etiquette, on our website at koamnewsnow.com/flag. Pittsburgh's Knights of Columbus honored area organizations who it's helping. It's part of their grants announcement celebration. The event looks to honor the recipients of the organization's annual grants given by the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas. Grants were given to 9 organizations. On Wednesday, the Pittsburgh Public Library hosted Story Time. This event gives kids the opportunity to watch their favorite books in puppet form. They also participate in arts and crafts and sing along to music. Story Time is intended for preschool to 6 years old. However, all ages can listen and enjoy. Although turnout wasn't as great as usual, kids still had a blast.
Actually, today was smaller than usual because the buses from the schools didn't come. But today, for a small turnout, was over 100 people. And we've had well over 250 people at Story Times this summer for each Story Time.
The next Story Time will take place Monday, July 3rd at the Pittsburgh Library. Well, at the Crawford County Historical Museum, nearly every Wednesday is Wacky Wednesday. And yesterday's Wacky Wednesday theme had a special guest. The kids got to meet an actor playing Oklahoma's world-famous Will Rogers. Rogers starred in 71 movies and made more than $2 million per movie in the 1930s. Wacky Wednesday also has various activities for kids.
My favorite part about Wacky Wednesday is helping everybody.
You like to help everyone? What do you help them with?
I help people when they get hurt. That doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes it does.
Yeah.
You can register your child for Wacky Wednesday by visiting the Crawford County Historical Museum website. On Wednesday, a Webb City Educational Center honored local educators. The Southwest Center for Educational Excellence hosted its Regional Teacher of the Year celebration. 17 teachers were nominated, 2 were chosen as winners, and those winners are Amanda Royster from Carl Junction and Nikki Deaton from Sarcoxie.
Honestly, I can't believe it. I'm very excited, and I just want to thank my school district, my students, and then most importantly, my mother, who's been in education for 30 years and whose legacy that I'm trying to carry on.
The 2 winners will go on to represent the Southwest Missouri region in the statewide competition for Missouri Teacher of the Year. That was Wonder Woman there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this morning we are discussing
this. It's a replica of the White House.
Okay.
Not quite the same size. There's a house in Hillsborough, California. Yeah, it looks a little familiar because it looks a lot like the White House. And of course, that was the intention after all. Now, the house itself dates back to the 1800s. And in the 1920s, the grandson of William Hearst, George Hearst, commissioned Julia Morgan to make it look like the White House.
Aside from some freshening up, the home has remained mostly the same all these years. Chandeliers can be found around mostly every corner. Intricate details found in many of the fixtures, and each bedroom seems as though it's the master bedroom. And the master bedroom amounts to the size of many everyday homes.
Now, the story is that the original owner wanted to run for president, and his idea was to gift this wannabe White House to the U.S. government. But of course, that plan never came to fruition. And that brings us to our question for you this morning. Have you ever wanted to run for political office? So far, 20% of you say that you have. 80% of you say that you have not. I did. I've considered a couple of things, but I just don't have the resources to pull that off. But it would be interesting.
I think it's about who you know.
That's, unfortunately, that really is what it boils down to. Jacob Leonard and I, we used to joke that I was going to run for president next year, and he would be my vice president.
Right.
I feel like we'd get the votes, at least
You'd
here.
both be in the right age category. You'd hit that mark.
We've hit that mark, so could have been an interesting presidential run next year, but we obviously are not doing that. But we still want to hear from you, so make sure you take time to vote through our website, our app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
Well, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, scientists discover a planet that is not supposed to exist.
Plus, Paris is in a state of unrest after police shoot and kill a 17-year-old. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. A live look at the Reeds in Red with Silver by George Leva. This you can find at the Cornell Complex. Topping a World Watch, the death of a teenage driver is under investigation in France after shots are fired during a traffic stop. His death sparked clashes between young people and the police on Tuesday. The incident happened in Paris, in a Paris suburb earlier in the day, after the 17-year-old reportedly refused to comply with a stop order. The local prosecutor's office says one of the police officers is currently in custody for culpable homicide. Well, some animals at the London Zoo are cooling off from the summer heat with frozen treats. Gorillas, lemurs, and squirrel monkeys were treated to refreshing rainbow-colored ices this week. Yummy. The squirrel monkeys worked to retrieve the peas, sweet corn, and beetroot in their popsicles. And the endangered ringtail lemurs licked and picked at their fruit-flavored frozen treats. And the critically endangered silverback Kibiri wasted no time in digging to the green cabbage layer of his ice lolly. Now, the treats were made by the zookeepers in celebration of Pride Month. Muslims all over the world celebrated the start of Eid al-Adha on Wednesday. Pilgrims at the Hajj in Saudi Arabia are braving the intense heat to perform the symbolic stoning of the devil ritual. The annual pilgrimage, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, started in Mecca on Monday. Nearly 2 million worshipers are expected to attend this year's pilgrimage, the first one without pandemic restrictions. Residents in the Japanese prefecture of Okinawa woke up to quite a sight Wednesday morning. That's after they saw waters around the fishing port of Nago, completely different color. Now, images taken by the Coast Guard showed red bay waters. The cause is to believe to be a leak from a brewery which saw coolant flowing into a connecting river. Not beer, but coolant. People in South Korea became a year or 2 younger yesterday. Yes, that's what I said. That's due to a new law that went into effect, officially adopting the international age system that's used by most of the world. That system refers to age as the number of years since a person was born. Now, under the old system in South Korea, people were deemed to be a year old as soon as they were born, and then another year was added to their age every January 1st. The current president of South Korea pushed a campaign promise to scrap that traditional system in order to avoid legal disputes and confusion. Interesting. Well, the stereotype that American tourists are rude and ignorant might take some hesitance to travel. However, travel industry experts say Americans are a hot commodity. Several destination management companies, or DMCs, say the tourism industry benefits from the spending power that American travelers have. Data collected by the DMCs show the U.S. ranks 7th in countries with the highest salaries, averaging about $70,000 a year. Higher income means higher spending budgets. Tourism company insiders say that leads to American travelers investing in more expensive dining, hotels, tours, and taking longer trips. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. 5:47 on this Thursday. That much closer to the weekend than at least some relief from this heat. But between now and then, it's hot. Alert days today and tomorrow. Temperatures low to mid 100s. Heat index values up to 110, maybe even higher in some areas. Southeast Kansas, we've got heat advisories until 9 o'clock tonight. So again, like yesterday, I wasn't surprised that they were reissued. For Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in Southeast Kansas and the rest of Southwest Missouri, these heat advisories continue until tomorrow at 7. And the heat advisory Northeast Oklahoma has been replaced by an excessive heat warning, and that runs until 9 tonight, and that is because heat index values could be 110 to 115 degrees out there. So folks, seriously, take this heat seriously. If you have to work outside, do what you can to take frequent breaks. Make sure you're staying hydrated, find shade, cool off when you can, and be wary of the symptoms of heat exhaustion and heat stroke out there as well. MoDOT camera 20th in Rangeline. We look great, but it feels like a summer afternoon out there. We've got a nice view from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh. And from our camera at 7th and Rangeline, again, a handful of clouds out there. It is 80 degrees with a heat index of 83. It's been that way since this morning. It is very hot, very muggy out there. You're definitely going to need the AC. This is not a windows down kind of morning. And we're muggy and hot around the area. 76 is one of the cool spots up there in Yates Center. The rest of us, 78 Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, 79 Lamar, Pittsburgh, 80 Parsons, Neodesha, 79 Chatopa, Miami, and 77 in Neosho and Monette. Now, as we get our morning started, we'll have those mostly clear skies, maybe a few clouds out there, and we're in the low 90s by 11 a.m., and that is ahead of this unpleasant number. Highs around 104 degrees out there under partly cloudy skies, so it's going to be dangerously hot. Some of us may even breach that 105 mark out there. Heading into the the evening rather, we're still hot, no relief from this heat. Partly to mostly cloudy skies through the evening, partly cloudy skies overnight, and we're dropping back down to a low of 80 degrees tonight. And as we look ahead, again, near 100 tomorrow, and then 100 possibly by Saturday, but then we've got those evening thunderstorm chances. And those will bring us some relief from the heat. They will drop us back into the low 90s as we head into Sunday and the kickoff the next week ahead of us. So that is some good news. And then we stay in the low 90s as we move into next week. We do have the pop-up storm chances on the 4th of July, but if it remains like that, then as we all know with those pop-up storms, they kind of die out when we lose the heating of the day. So we should be good for fireworks, but if you're planning anything in the afternoon, just be prepared for a stray shower or two. Pop-up storms possible Friday and Saturday, and temperatures remain much more comfortable as we close out the next week as well. Let's check your forecast. We'll be back after this, but first, we got a live look from the Cornell Complex on 7th Street in Joplin.
Grub to get registered.
For a town named Normal, this pup is anything but. Welcome to Normal, Illinois, home to Rocky the dog, who just nabbed the Guinness World Record for longest tongue on a living dog. Madison Porter has his story.
Rocky's owners always knew he had an abnormally long tongue.
It's just hanging there, right? And we're like, man, it's so long. But when other people started noticing, and complete strangers, that's when we're like, man, his tongue really is long. Not just we think so.
Crystal Williams didn't know there was a world record for the longest tongue on a living dog until she saw the previous holder, Mochi, on a TV special. After Mochi passed away, Williams knew Rocky might have a chance.
That's when they said the new record was between 3 and 4 inches. And I said, oh my gosh, I think we have a shot. I gotta look into this.
Williams says the process is not easy and all the documentation is crazy. She said she triple-checked the paperwork to make sure they didn't deny Rocky. A couple months after Williams applied, Guinness accepted the application and the measurement planning started.
That's where I talked to the vet and he left me a message saying, I guess we're measuring a tongue. And so it was on.
Guinness sent Rocky's vet, Dr. Bleem from Kruger Animal Hospital, specific requirements on how to measure his tongue. They put Rocky under anesthesia, gently drew out his tongue, and measured from the end of his nose to the tip of his tongue.
It was 140 millimeters. I mean, it's long.
On GuinnessWorldRecords.com, Rocky measured in at 13.8 centimeters, which is just under 5.5 inches.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Something just fun to laugh at too. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, look at his tongue.
Just, you know, Rocky's a great dog, and he really deserves this.
No doubt with a tongue like that, I'm sure Rocky gives great kisses. We'll be right back.
Best grocery store and sushi.
Astronomers have been able to hear the celestial hum of powerful gravitational waves echoing across the universe for the first time. The waves were likely created by collisions between supermassive black holes. Their observations reveal the waves occur at different frequencies and have oscillated for decades. Now, some of those waves slowly undulate as they pass through our Milky Way galaxy, and the discovery could help scientists better understand cosmic phenomena such as supermassive black holes and how often galaxies merge. Gravitational waves, initially predicted by Albert Einstein in 1916, are ripples in space-time. They were first detected in 2015. Interesting. Well, astronomers say a Jupiter-like exoplanet 520 light years away may have survived the destruction of its host star. They've named the hot gas planet Hala, the name of the highest mountain in South Korea, in honor of its discovery by Korean astronomers in 2015. Astronomers suggest that Hala may have survived the destruction of its host star. Now, observations indicate the exoplanet has burned through its supply of hydrogen and is now burning helium at its core, which suggests it once expanded into a giant red star but survived. Astronomers say another possibility: this system could have had two suns at one point and they merged or collided.
And with our heat today, it's certainly going to feel like we've got two suns out there. We've got mostly clear skies through the morning. We're looking to get into the low 90s by late morning. We have our alert days today and tomorrow for that dangerous heat. Highs right around 104 degrees out there under partly cloudy skies. So you've got to be careful because we're talking heat index values anywhere from 105 to 115. No relief from the heat through the evening. Partly to mostly cloudy skies, partly cloudy overnight, and warm near 80. As we head into tomorrow, near 100, near 100 again for us on Saturday. And then evening thunderstorm chances bring us some relief as we head into next week. Temperatures dropping into the low 90s. Maybe a stray pop-up storm or two on Tuesday for the 4th, but should be good by the evening and hanging on to those low 90-degree temperatures. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Today's news brought
Right now at 6, it takes a jury less than 2 hours to find a Newton County, Missouri man guilty of 3 counts of child sex crimes.
We've got our alert days continuing today and tomorrow for that dangerous heat out there. We'll take a look at that in your forecast coming up.
And fire crews in Fort Scott, Kansas battle a house fire fueled by wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour and intense heat.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner, just after 6 o'clock now on this Thursday morning across the area. And I wish I had good news, but unfortunately, if you've been outside this morning, even just to grab the morning paper, you know it's hot, you know it's muggy, and that is a sign of things to come. And that's why our alert days do continue for today into tomorrow. Temperatures low to mid 100s, heat index values upwards of 110, and for some of us, maybe even higher than that. We do have the heat advisories for parts of southeast Kansas through 9 o'clock tonight, and then Bourbon, Crawford, and Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas and the rest of southwest Missouri, they still continue until 7 tomorrow night. And then we now have excessive heat warnings for our counties in northeastern Oklahoma that go into effect and run until 9 o'clock tonight. And those excessive heat warnings, they're expecting heat index values 110 to 115 out there. So you've got to take this heat seriously, folks. Cannot stress that enough. MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line looks good. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue. Getting some daylight out there. Still a few clouds. And I love when that background disappears. But we're sitting at 79 in Joplin. Feels like 82 out there with a south-southwest breeze at 11. Around the area, we got 78 Fort Scott, 78 Parsons, Miami, and 75 in Neosho. As we get our morning started, mostly clear skies, a few clouds, low 90s by late morning, and our highs today pushing right around 104. Some of us maybe even warmer than that under partly cloudy skies. So make sure you're taking precautions out there and make sure you are staying hydrated. We'll have more on your forecast here in just a few more minutes. Tanya?
Thanks, Chris. A jury finds a Newton County, Missouri man guilty of 3 counts of child sex crimes. The jury took less than 2 hours on Wednesday to find 31-year-old Jonathan Lee Cavett guilty of first-degree statutory rape and 2 counts of statutory sodomy. key witness in the trial was the 8-year-old child victim, who was only 4-year-old at the time. Sentencing hearing for Cavett will take place August 28th. Grand jury hands down a federal indictment following a May traffic stop in Jasper County after a state trooper finds 80 pounds of methamphetamine. On May 28th, the Missouri Highway Patrol trooper stopped 26-year-old Devion Boykin near the Sarcoxy exit on Interstate 44. Pennsylvania man was driving a vehicle that had been rented to another person, and he did not have a driver's license. The officer found 81-pound bags of meth in a shopping bag and a suitcase in the SUV. He also found a loaded gun. Authorities say Boykin was recorded on the dash cam discussing the meth on the phone while he was inside the police car. You can learn more about that and the case on KOAM News Now app. An Aurora, Missouri woman charged in a crash that killed 4 people on motorcycles will remain in jail, at least for now. A judge has ruled 53-year-old Teresa Manetsky will remain in jail without bond. The judge denied her attorney's request that Manetsky be released on her own recognizance while she seeks continuing medical care. Now, authorities say Manetsky was driving while intoxicated on June 3rd when she crossed the center line and crashed into a group of people on bikes on Highway 39 north of Aurora. 4 people on the motorcycles were killed, 6 others injured. Manetsky was also seriously injured. You can read more about this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On Wednesday, Fort Scott, Kansas, fire crews battled intense flames and 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Crews responded to the house fire at Wall and Barbie. When they arrived, they say they found half the home engulfed in flames, as you can see in this photo. Firefighters were unable to go inside. Fortunately, the resident had already gotten out before firefighters arrived, and no one was hurt. Fire crews say the home is a total loss. They are investigating the cause of the fire. Well, this morning, millions of Americans from the Midwest to the East Coast are under some kind of air quality alert. Smoke from Canadian wildfires continues to blow across the U.S. as parts of the South deal with the stifling heat. Jared Hill has more.
From Cleveland to Pittsburgh, Chicago, and Detroit,
it's just a cloud of smoke over the entire city.
More than 100 million Americans are under some kind of air quality alert as smoke from those massive Canadian wildfires continues to blow into the U.S. So bad in Detroit Wednesday, the EPA warned everyone should stay indoors.
My eyes have been watering, my throat has been sore, I've been coughing.
All that smoke is expected to sit over parts of the East Coast today, including here in New York. Federal officials say that's a real concern for sensitive groups like people with asthma, small kids, and older adults.
We got a special delivery for you today.
Further south, free fans are going out in Smith County, Texas. Parts of the state have been hotter than 100 degrees for 14 days straight. The heat has been blamed for more than a dozen deaths there so far.
We don't usually have this much humidity and have heat indexes this high.
In Houston, the extreme temperatures have even caused roads to buckle. Meanwhile, in the West, the battle is on against wildfires. Despite progress on the Diamond Fire near Scottsdale, Arizona, officials say it's already burned through about 2,500 acres since it began Tuesday afternoon. Jared Hill, CBS News.
The National Weather Service says the excessive heat warnings and advisories will likely remain in effect through the remainder of the week. With no end in sight for the Canada wildfires, air quality concerns will likely continue as well. To be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. KOAM celebrated day 2 of its Great American Flag Swap. Lets area residents trade in their old tattered American flags for a new one. This one was at 2023 East 32nd Street in Joplin at Arvest Bank. The American Legion helped us in retiring those old traded-in flags, and within the first hour, all 100 of yesterday's flags were traded out. One of the country's biggest classic car rallies, the Great Race, pulled into Joplin on Wednesday. This leg of the race featured 127 cars. The Great Race is a 9-day, 2,300-mile journey from St. Augustine, Florida to Colorado Springs. And Wednesday marked day 5. Officials say it tests the endurance of cars and teams who come from all over the globe. Today, the teams will go through Emporia, Kansas before spending the night in Wichita. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Tennessee State University becomes the first HBCU in the nation to offer men's ice hockey at the club level. We've got the details. And as the opioid epidemic continues to take its toll across the country, one program takes the fight directly to those most affected. And Chris returns with another look at your forecast and just how long the 4 states will continue to wither under this serious summertime heat. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from the Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex in Joplin, Missouri.
And Flooring Expo at Johnson Flooring Home.
Prices slapped with luxury vinyl and tile.
Plus, take 36 months to pay, interest-free.
Thursday through Sunday only, hosted by Johnson Flooring.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, one of the men convicted of killing the father of basketball legend Michael Jordan is asking for a new hearing. Daniel Green has filed a motion with the court on his behalf after he fired his attorney. Green is serving a life sentence for killing James Jordan in 1993, who was shot and killed as he parked his car off the highway to take a nap. But Green claims he was at a family party when Jordan was killed. The judge has not made a ruling on whether Green will receive a new trial. Hundreds of people evacuated from an Arizona community due to a wildfire are now seeing what remains of the homes they left behind. Evacuations were lifted from more than 1,000 people in Scottsdale on Wednesday night. The neighborhoods were impacted by the Diamond Fire. But firefighters were able to make progress in gaining control of the flames, and residents were told to be cautious when going back to their homes as firefighters are still in the area.
It was a little bit of a shock driving up and seeing it all pink. But again, we live out here. We know there's a risk for this, so we figured this would probably happen someday, and we're prepared for it. So it was eye-opening but not shocking until I got up here on the rooftop deck, and that's when there were just puddles of slurry on the flat roof here.
Fire officials believe humans started the Diamond Fire, but they do not know how the fire was exactly sparked. They say crews were out patrolling the perimeter late into the night. And crews are making progress on a fire burning near Parachute, Colorado. As of Wednesday afternoon, the Spring Creek fire was 20% contained after torching more than 2,800 acres. Spencer Wilson reports.
Helicopters are hitting this with everything they have. Even if things are looking much better than 2 days ago, it only takes one mega blast of wind to set this fire off again.
It's fuel-driven, wind-driven, or terrain-driven. Out in this country, we have a lot of those conditions, and that's what we saw. The terrain, the steep country with a lot of fuel load, and the wind just all work together to see that significant growth.
Everyone in town is keeping a close eye on the fight.
My front porch is quite a show.
There's no evacuations for residents right now, but she's making sure she's ready if things do get worse.
I have a husband who's had serious surgery, and he has a walking problem, so we, did the medications and ready for evacuation if it was necessary.
Right now, crews are feeling hopeful, even in this wicked wind. They've got hundreds of new crews arriving this evening, and the fire is still pushing away from town. And even if it does double back, they're preparing to hold the line to keep everyone safe.
When things are at their worst, people are at their best. That's the saving grace of our humanity.
No evacuations have been ordered as of Wednesday morning. The U.S. Forest Service said the fire was not growing as quickly and was hitting mud and snow as it climbed to about 9,000 feet in elevation. Tennessee State University is the first historically black school to introduce collegiate ice hockey to its athletics program. Announced on Wednesday prior to the 2023 National Hockey League draft, HBCU is set to offer men's ice hockey at the club level, with hopes of one day becoming an NCAA Division I college team. TSU Hockey said it is hoping to create a legacy that inspires future generations.
Once we get this model launched for the world to see, there's going to be HBCU presidents calling President Glenda Glover.
They already do.
and she will definitely give them insight on how to do this.
The National Hockey League and the Nashville Predators have partnered with the school on the new program. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got a very hot and muggy start out there this morning. It's going to be hotter yet as we head into the afternoon. We've got heat advisories, excessive heat warnings, and that's why we have alert days today and tomorrow. We'll have another complete look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Ready. Then take a spin on the Wheel of Fortune.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, now 6:18 on this Thursday morning, and I wish I had good news for you, but I don't, at least not for today or tomorrow, and maybe not even Saturday initially, but we do have relief on the way. We have our alert days today and tomorrow with those temperatures low to mid 100s and heat index values up to 110, maybe even higher for some of us. We'll talk about that. We've got southeast Kansas heat advisory through 9 o'clock tonight. And then we've got Bourbon, Crawford, and Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas and all of southwest Missouri. These heat advisories continue until 7 tomorrow night. And then we've got now for all of our counties in northeast Oklahoma an excessive heat warning. And this runs until 9 tonight, and that is because they're anticipating heat index values of 110 to 115 degrees. That is how humid it is going to be. MoDOT camera, 20th in range line, looking good so far. Sun's starting to come up out there. We really don't want to see it right now, but that's what's coming up. Same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue. And our camera at 7th and Range Line showing a few clouds out there. I don't know why that box disappeared, but that's all right. We'll work with it. 79 in Joplin right now. Feels like 82, so we have a heat index this early in the morning. We've had one since 5 this morning. If that's any indication as to what's going to come later today. We're at 77 Iola. 75 is the one of the cool spots there in Yates Center, as well as Sedan. 76 Chanute, 79 Chatopa, 78 Miami Carthage, and 75 in Neosho. As we get our morning started, again, we'll have a few clouds out there, otherwise mostly clear skies, and we are heading for the low 90s by 11 this morning as a precursor to this unfortunate number. We're looking at highs right around 104 degrees. Some of us could be hotter than that. Those temperatures will rise quickly as we head through the afternoon. Will be partly cloudy. Could see a few extra clouds this evening, so partly to mostly cloudy for some of us across the area, but that still doesn't stop the heat. There is no relief through the evening. I mean, if you have evening activities, you need to be taking precautions even as late as 8, 9 o'clock tonight. By 10, we're down to 87, so still hot and still muggy, and that's the other issue is the humidity and the dew point out there are going to be high enough that we'll still have decent heat index values even at 10 tonight. We're going to drop down eventually to 80 degrees tonight under partly cloudy skies. So we want to just remind you of the seriousness of the heat situation and the importance that you take it seriously. We know that you take severe weather warnings very seriously whenever we have those come out, but you need to take these heat advisories and especially those excessive heat warnings just as seriously because the heat is just as dangerous, just as deadly as severe weather can be. You need to know the signs of heat exhaustion versus heat stroke. Make sure you're staying hydrated outside if you've got to be outdoors. Make sure you're taking frequent breaks and getting into a cool area wherever you can, staying in the shade as much as possible. I know for some of us, some of the trades we have, if you're working outdoors, it's not always possible, but I'm sure your supervisors out there will also be aware of this heat situation and be helping you to stay cool and stay safe because it can be deadly in a short time frame out there with this kind of heat. Now, as we head into our Friday, still hot. We're looking right around the 100 degrees and could push around the 100 again on Saturday. But here comes the saving grace. Thunderstorms in the evening Saturday. Now, we're looking down the road. There is the possibility of a few stronger storms Saturday evening. So we'll keep an eye on that for you as we get closer. So I know we don't need any more strong storms or any severe weather, but at least we're getting some rain, and it'll help cool us down. Not significantly, but a lot better than where we have been as we go back into the lower 90s as we head into next week. We'll start with some morning thunderstorms, maybe on Sunday, lingering from the overnight storms on Saturday. We'll go low 90s and even into the upper 80s as we head into the next work week. And I know a lot of folks wondering about the 4th of July. We have this thunderstorm icon up here. We have for a few days. Right now, we're just looking at pop-up storms. And as you know, pop-up storms, they die out when we lose the heating of the day. They should be clearing up by the time it's time to set off some of those fireworks. But if you have afternoon plans, make sure you're prepared for maybe a stray shower or storm. Low 90s, again, maybe even some upper 80s and a few more thunderstorm chances to close out the week. Let's check your forecast. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
KOAM is sponsored by Integris Health with hospitals in Miami and Grove. Integris Health, partnering with people to live healthier lives.
Topping Health Watch this morning, vitamin D supplements may help lower the risk of major cardiovascular events in people over 60. Researchers in Australia conducted the largest trial of its kind with more than 10,000 patients receiving a monthly dose of vitamin D for up to 5 years. The rate of heart attack was 19% lower in the vitamin D group compared to those who took a placebo. Meditation can help people with depression recall positive memories about themselves. Researchers in the UK look specifically at what's called kindness meditation, which guides people to practice unconditional kindness to themselves and others. The study found just 10 minutes a day visualizing themselves encouraging happiness, health, and peace helped people with depression make memories of themselves clearer. 2 + 2 = 4 time. A new review published in Educational Studies found integrating music into mathematics lessons boosted scores. The research indicates around 73% of students who took math lessons with music weaved in did significantly better than those who took math alone. With the opioid epidemic raging across the country, a new program here at home aims to help treat opioid addiction by bringing treatment options right to those in need, especially in underserved communities. Gino Vici has the details.
Well, this is a new pilot program, and these mobile intervention buses will be hitting the streets in just a few weeks. Now, with the opioid epidemic increasing, getting worse every single day, the company behind it hopes that services like this can become more common.
I think it has a huge potential.
Dr. Sherry Aliz is heading up a new pilot program, recently approved by the DEA and the state of Michigan, that could have a huge impact on opioid abuse treatment options for underserved communities.
A lot of our clients are those that have no access to treatment facilities.
Dr. Aliz is talking about this fleet of custom-built specialty buses designed to target underserved communities like homeless shelters, nursing homes, correctional facilities, and neighborhoods with little to no options. The mobile units are scheduled to be rolled out in just a few weeks and will provide full treatment services.
So some of these buses will be for group therapies. Some of these buses will be registration. Some of these buses will be for counselors and doctors, and the other buses will be for methadone dispensing.
Naveed Syed is the CEO of Quality Behavioral Health in Detroit and says he's operated this center for nearly 3 decades. And the addition of these mobile units are exactly what the community needs to help fight the opioid epidemic.
A lot of people are losing their lives and killing themselves by overdosing. So this is the time where we want to help, and I'm really happy that I can do something.
Saeed says when the program launches in just a few weeks, there will be 2 buses in Detroit, 1 in Inkster and 1 in Canton. And he's hopeful that number will increase soon after launching.
After this pilot is done, we will be able to see how successful this runs, and then we will expand this.
Dr. Aliz is very optimistic about this mobile intervention pilot program.
It's going to do so good to the community.
In Detroit, Gino Vici, CBS News, Detroit.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we've got alert days today and tomorrow. We've got heat advisories out there. We've got excessive heat warnings out there. We'll talk about that in your forecast when we come back.
It's a day game with free admission for all Patriotic Outlaws fans. Tuesday, July 4th. First pitch at 2 p.m. against the Nevada Griffins. Angus will be there. How about you?
Right now at 6:30, the Better Business Bureau wants to remind people that June is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and some scammers will try and take advantage of that.
We've got alert days continuing today into tomorrow for excessive and dangerous heat across the area with high humidities. We'll take a look at your forecast coming up.
And soil conditions in Missouri make it ripe for unique wine conditions, but the extreme of cold winter and a dry summer make for some unique challenges.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So we still have our alert days out there. I don't know if you noticed on the way in, it's hot, it's humid out there. Even at 3 o'clock this morning when I was leaving the house, it's so warm, so muggy out there. And that's why we are continuing the alert days for today and tomorrow, as we've got those temperatures low to mid 100s, heat index values around 110 for some of us. For southeast Kansas, let's take a look at the alerts. For here, these heat advisories run until 9 tonight for Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties, and then into southwest Missouri, we have heat advisories through 7 tomorrow. And then we now have an excessive heat warning for all of our counties in northeast Oklahoma. That runs until 9 tonight, and down there, heat index values could be pushing 115 degrees. You've got to take this heat seriously, folks. MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line. We're getting some sunshine out there, and same from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh. Our camera, 7th and Range Line, a few clouds out there, and we are sitting at 79 degrees in Joplin, feeling like 82 right now. That dew point is 70, humidity 74%, so muggy to say the least. And warm and muggy across the region this morning. 76 Iola, a little cooler Yates Center at 73. 78 Parsons, 79 Chatopa, 78 Miami, Carthage, and 75 Neosho and Monette. Now, as we get our morning started, we'll have mostly clear skies, a few passing clouds into the low 90s by late morning, and that is ahead of highs today, right around 104 degrees. Some of us may even be warmer than that, so definitely stay hydrated and stay indoors if you can. Partly cloudy skies, no relief from the heat as we head into the evening, as we'll stay hot. Still near 90 by 10 o'clock, partly to mostly cloudy skies. Overnight lows tonight dropping down to about 80 degrees. We'll have more on your forecast and how the 4th of July is shaping up here in a few more minutes. Tanya?
Thanks, Chris. 2 young out-of-country solicitors asked the Joplin Police Department to share their picture on social media. They did this so residents can know they are legitimate when they knock on people's doors. And police say while they are trustworthy, others may not be. In Joplin, to be able to sell books or windows, for example, door-to-door solicitors need a special license. To obtain that document, they go through a background check.
Solicitors should be paying attention. If you have like a no solicitors sign posted or a no trespassing sign posted, solicitors should be obeying those.
I just open the door and look at them and ask them what they want. They can either tell me what they're there for or leave the porch.
The Joplin Police Department also says if a citizen or law enforcement officer requests the credentials, the solicitor needs to show them. Better Business Bureau wants to warn people about scams targeting folks with Alzheimer's disease. Experts say there are some things older adults and their loved ones can do to stay safe. One, if something feels off, tell someone you trust. Also, never share sensitive information over the phone or online. And if you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's, watch out for warning signs that they may be targeted.
The first thing is trust your gut. If something seems off with the transaction, just find another method of payment or consider, just not doing the transaction altogether. Because again, some small businesses use these peer-to-peer payment apps and they're perfectly fine. But if someone says that's the only way they'll take payment, that can be a big red flag.
June is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. Well, it could be a rough year for Missouri winemakers. The cold winter and dry summer are taking its toll on grapes across the state. Greg Payne visited a Ray County vineyard to see the struggles firsthand.
But Missouri has unique soils.
Which Debbie Van Til, the co-owner of Van Til Family Farm Winery in Ray County, says the soil creates unique wine flavors and profiles special to the region. But with those unique Missouri soils comes the region's often tricky weather.
Because of the cold that we had, we lost these during the winter. And so we replanted, but this is the growth we had just since we planted at the end of May.
While the colder season caused Van Til issues, other winemakers are facing even more challenges. Wine experts say the combination of below freezing temperatures last winter and now the drought conditions in the summer is reason for concern for the grapes' growth.
So anytime we experience any adverse climate conditions, whether that's too much rain, which can cause rot and mold, or not enough water, so the grapes don't have enough water to produce, they're kind of in crisis, so they're not really going to put off a lot of fruit.
There may be less wines featuring local grapes, and some wineries may have to resort to purchasing grapes from out of state. Something the Van Tills hate to hear their fellow friends in the wine community dealing with.
We do call each other, we meet each other on a regular basis, have dinner, and we help each other and talk about the problems.
I know Missouri's consumers and the people who love Missouri wines have their favorite wineries, and will continue to support them and through thick and thin. But it is a tough one. When you don't have product to sell, it is difficult.
Well, the Van Tills say their operation is too small to sell their Missouri grapes to other wineries, but they say there are many larger vineyards that do sell and to try and help their fellow Missouri winemakers. Pittsburgh's Knights of Columbus honors the area organizations they help. It's part of their grant announcement celebration. The event looks to honor the recipients of the annual grants given by the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas. Grants were given to 9 organizations. On Wednesday, a Webb City Educational Center honors local educators. Southwest Center for Educational Excellence hosted its Regional Teacher of the Year celebration. 17 teachers were nominated. 2 were chosen as winners, and those winners are Amanda Royster from Carl Junction and Nikki Deaton from Sircoxie.
Honestly, I can't believe it. I'm very excited, and I just want to thank my school district, my students, and then most importantly, my mother, who's been in education for 30 years and whose legacy that I am trying to carry on.
The 2 winners will go on to represent the Southwest Missouri region in the statewide competition for Missouri Teacher of the Year. On Wednesday, the Pittsburgh Public Library hosted Story Time. The outdoor summer event gives kids the opportunity to watch their favorite books in puppet form. They also participate in arts and crafts and sing along to music. Story Time is intended for preschool to 6 years old. However, all ages can listen and enjoy. Although turnout wasn't as great as usual, kids still had a blast.
Actually, today was smaller than usual because the buses from the schools didn't come. But today, for a small turnout, was over 100 people. And we've had well over 250 people at story times this summer for each story time.
Pittsburgh Public Library cracks open the cover on the next chapter of Storytime on Monday, July 3rd. Crawford County Historical Museum celebrates nearly every Wednesday as a Wacky Wednesday. Yesterday's Wacky Wednesday had a special guest. Kids got to meet an actor playing Oklahoma's world-famous Will Rogers. Rogers starred in 71 movies and made more than $2 million per movie in the 1930s. Wacky Wednesday also has various activities for kids.
When you visit the museum, folks all the time say, we need somebody like him today because he was world famous for being friends to everyone. I never met a man I didn't like is what he said all the time. It's what's on his statues, it's what's on the books, it's on the postcards, you get it, you know what I'm saying there. But I never met a man I didn't like is what we need more of in this country today.
Crawford County's Historical Museum hosts a new Wacky Wednesday every week through the month of July. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, a feast of tasty treats may be headed your way.
From marshmallows in a can to upcycled food waste, I'm Michael George with the latest food trends that could be headed to store shelves near you.
Plus, we've got those heat advisories and excessive heat warnings with our alert days today and tomorrow. We'll talk more about that dangerous heat when we come back. But first, we got another live look from the Harry M. Cornell Complex in downtown Joplin.
Over garage sale stuff.
Easy.
In Consumer Watch this morning, President Biden delivers a key economic speech in Chicago where he touted what his administration is calling Bidenomics. The president said his policies are sparking a recovery and accused Republicans of hurting the middle class. However, a new poll from the AP Nork Center for Public Affairs Research finds only 1 in 3 Americans approve of President Biden's economic leadership. Popular brand of sriracha hot sauce is in short supply because of the apparent effects of climate change. The Hue Fung Foods Company, based outside of Los Angeles, says production is down because severe weather has affected the quality and availability of the peppers it uses. The company says it's not clear when the shortage will ease. Meanwhile, bottles are reportedly being offered online for many times the retail price. Not good news. Need my sriracha. More than 1,400 rare and iconic movie props and other memorabilia went on the auction block in Los Angeles. A light-up full-size replica of the Back to the Future DeLorean time machine used at multiple promotional events sold for $250,000. And the winning bid for Kevin Costner's signed baseball glove from Field of Dreams fetched more than $87,000. Wow. Mushroom chips, marshmallows in a can, upcycled yogurt waste. Some of the many unusual snacks you may soon see at the grocery store. Michael George put some burgeoning brands to the test and spoke with new startups, proving there's enough room for the food space for everyone.
The annual Fancy Food Show in New York is a way for old chestnuts and up-and-comers to get people talking and tasting.
Oh my God. It's just like a s'more, like melty, gooey. It's delicious.
Meet the Schmallow, the world's first marshmallow in a can, toasted to perfection.
Marshmallows go stale and they're problematic, so I figured, is there a way to put marshmallows in a can?
Other food innovators are taking trash and turning it into liquid treasure, like Spare Tonic, made from whey discarded in the yogurt making process.
Just this like incredibly nutritionally dense liquid that we're capturing and created this super clean label 4-ingredient drink out of.
Specialty food sales hit $194 billion last year, with salty snacks topping the bestseller list. Favorite brands like Jelly Belly got their start right here at the Fancy Food Show, and they're still innovating. This year's new flavors are based on popular boba teas. The show also highlighted 10 brands owned and operated by people of color.
There is a less than 1% amount of venture capital funding that typically goes to people of color.
Carl Franz Williams created Uncle Waithley's Vincy Brew, named for his grandfather.
Particularly within the beverage industry, there is not a lot of diversity, and that's because there are high barriers to entry.
His ginger beer stands out with a spicy kick from Scotch bonnet peppers.
Oh yeah, wow.
It gives our ginger beer a uniquely Caribbean taste that's unmatched.
Some new and diverse flavors, hoping to find a home on store shelves near you. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Some of that looks good. Some of it. The Fancy Food Show also donates more than 100,000 pounds of unused food to New Yorkers in need after the event wraps. That's good. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we are hot and humid this morning, and we will be even hotter as we head into the afternoon. Heat advisories, excessive heat warnings, hence our alert days today and tomorrow. We'll talk more about that complete forecast when we come back, and we've made it over the hump. We made it through some potentially bad storms, and we still got that heat on the way, but we are ready to celebrate, and what better way to celebrate than with some birthdays and anniversaries. They're coming up after the break, but first, we're going to head out to Manhattan and see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, I'll take you to one of the top summertime destinations for people who like sun and the water. It's on a boat in the Hudson River of New York City. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Your warranty lasts forever at Roper Honda.
I know.
Time for some birthdays here in the 4 states on this Thursday morning. We're going to begin in Riverton with Sterling Newman celebrating the big number 2. Happy birthday, Sterling.
Cutie patootie there in Riverton. And here's Daisy Ellison, another cutie there, turning 11 years old. Daisy is in Weir, Kansas.
And Cameron Quick with the catch of the day, celebrating number 14 in Riverton. Happy birthday, Cameron.
All right. And down in Columbus, Janie Fletcher is celebrating another year wiser. Happy birthday, Janie.
And Gerald Dietz over in the rural parts of Weir, celebrating number 75. And Gerald is Daisy Ellison's grandfather, with love from his son, granddaughters, and great-granddaughters.
All right, and it's a celebration weekend for the Dietz family because Bub Dietz is turning 75 as well. That's pretty cool. Bub is in Pittsburgh.
And mating back, celebrating number 96 over in Columbus with happy birthday love coming from your church family. Very happy birthday, Mating.
And let's see, the Thompsons, there they are. Mark and Terry Thompson are celebrating 40 years together. That's a wonderful picture there. They are in Pittsburgh.
And Ken and Helen Kelly celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary in Columbus. A very happy anniversary to the Kellys.
All right.
And of course, we love celebrating birthdays and anniversaries with all of you, and we love seeing more photos like that. Tanya, where do they need to send them?
All they have to do is email them to us to this address. Send the pictures for both the birthdays and the anniversaries to this one address, birthdays with an S, at KOAMnewsnow.com.
And of course, make sure you take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. You get great deals from local businesses. You also get a special birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. So head over to KOAMnewsnow.com. Sign up for that birthday club today. All right, let's talk about this dangerous heat. Alert days today and tomorrow, and here's why. Heat advisories for this portion of southeast Kansas through 9 tonight, and then Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in Kansas, and all of southwest Missouri. These heat advisories continue until 7 tomorrow, and then we've got an excessive heat warning now for our friends in northeast Oklahoma, and that is because they're anticipating heat index values upwards of 115 degrees out there. You've got to take this heat seriously, folks. MoDOT camera 20th and Range Line. We are looking good out there so far. A little more sunshine, though, from the KDOT camera at 69 and East 520th Avenue, just south of Pittsburgh. And we want to remind you, this is the area we're in for these heat index values, and this is where heat exhaustion is very likely and heat stroke is possible. So you've got to take it easy out there. Stay hydrated. Make sure you are taking breaks as you can. Our camera, 7th and Range Line. We've got some clouds out there. Sitting at 79 in Joplin. Feels like 82 out there. Is that dew point 70? Humidity 74%. And temperatures around the region, they're not any cooler. We've got 78 Fort Scott, Nevada, Pittsburgh, Miami, and Parsons. 79 Chautauqua. Yates Center getting cooled off a bit though. 73. 79 Grove, and 75 Neosho and Monette. As we get our morning started, again, we'll have mostly clear skies, a few clouds out there, but nothing too crazy. And unfortunately, even if clouds came in, it's not going to help us with this heat. Low 90s as we head into the late morning, and as we head into the afternoon, I wish we could change this, and technically I could, but then it wouldn't be right anymore. We are looking at highs right around 104 degrees. Some of us could go a little higher than that. We'll have partly cloudy skies out there, a little bit on the breezy side, but not enough to make it feel any better. And unfortunately, if you've got evening activities, no relief from this heat whatsoever as we stay hot through the evening, near 90 by 10. Overnight lows 80 degrees under partly cloudy skies. We'll have another check of your forecast and look at that 7-day when we come back, as well as the news you need to know.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A jury finds a Newton County, Missouri man guilty of 3 counts of child sex crimes. The jury took less than 3 hours on Wednesday to find 31-year-old Jonathan Lee Cavett guilty of first-degree statutory rape and 2 counts of statutory sodomy. The key witness in the trial was the 8-year-old child victim, who was only 4 years old at the time. Sentencing hearing for Cavett will take place August 28th. An Aurora, Missouri woman charged in a crash that killed 4 people on motorcycles will stay in jail, at least for now. A judge has ruled 53-year-old Teresa Manetsky will remain jailed without bond. The judge denied her attorney's request that Manetsky be released on her own recognizance while she seeks continuing medical care. And a Webb City Educational Center on Wednesday honored local educators. The Southwest Center for Educational Excellence hosted its Regional Teacher of the Year celebration. 17 teachers were nominated, 2 were chosen as winners, and those winners are Amanda Royster from Carl Junction and Nikki Deaton from Saracoxie. They will go on to represent the Southwest Missouri region in the statewide competition for Missouri Teacher of the Year. And Pittsburgh's Knights of Columbus honors area organizations it's helping. It's part of its grant announcement celebration. The event looks to honor the recipients of the annual grants given by the Community Foundation of the Southeast Kansas. And grants were given to 9 organizations. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We have heat advisories and excessive heat warnings out there. Heat index values 105 to 115. Highs today right around 104 degrees under partly cloudy skies. No relief from the heat through the evening. Partly to mostly cloudy skies. Overnight low of about 80 degrees. And as we look ahead, hot again tomorrow and Saturday. We've got some thunderstorms Saturday night into Sunday. That'll cool us down into the low 90s. Maybe a couple of pop-up storms for the 4th of July, but otherwise looking good and hot, low 90s.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making shrimp mac and cheese in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. There's new technology that might be the key to fighting climate change. Coming up on CBS Mornings, we'll show you how this technology works and why some critics say it's a waste of money.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, the next time someone tells you to go fly a kite, tell them, heck yeah, because it's for a good cause. Pittsburgh Kite Festival is taking off July 1st, and we've got all of the high-flying details.
And KOAM's Fernanda Silva takes us to Joplin to meet 2 young solicitors who've asked the Joplin Police Department to post their identities as an act of trust. That's going to wrap it up for us for now. We'll be back here tomorrow at 5 a.m.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.